We're here to return your useless daughter, my mother-in-law, Eleanor Vance, declared loudly right at my parents' doorstep, a smug smile plastered on her face. She had just dragged me, Chloe Hayes, from my own home to theirs, as if I were a defective item. She's nothing to us anymore. My father, Robert Hayes, shifted his gaze. His eyes went from surprise to a cold, angry glint as he looked straight at Eleanor. My entire in-laws family stood there, full of contempt. But they had no idea that their declaration was about to trigger a reaction that would shake their entire world. My name is Chloe. I've been married for just over a year, and during that time, I've tried my best to win my mother-in-law's approval. But it seems all my efforts were in vain. The reason is simple. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, took me directly to my parents' house, declaring loudly at the door, "I'm returning her." Useless. Returning what? I asked, dumbfounded, unable to believe my ears. Needless to say, I was completely shocked. But that didn't matter. No matter how hard I tried, my mother-in-law remained firm. My parents lived close to my in-laws, just a few minutes' drive. When we arrived, Eleanor had yelled loudly at the door, "Hey, come out and get your daughter!" Inside, there was a thudding of footsteps. My father came out immediately. "Oh, can I help you?" he asked, his face calm. "Excuse me, but I need to speak with you," Eleanor replied. "Speak? Then come inside." "Please come in," my father responded, smiling, trying to keep the peace. Eleanor shook her head. "We can talk here. We only came here to return your useless daughter." "Useless daughter?" My father's expression changed. His eyes were filled with discomfort as he looked at Eleanor. "What do you mean, useless?" "I mean exactly what I said," she continued, full of self-satisfaction. "Don't you understand? A wife with a monthly salary of only $500 is a defective product." "Completely defective," she emphasized. "Defective?" My father's face contorted, looking like a demon. I was afraid my father would go berserk, but there was nothing I could do. My mother-in-law, completely oblivious to my father's rage, continued to badmouth me as if nothing was wrong. "You know, she doesn't do anything around the house, and she doesn't earn much money." "And now you want to return her?" my father asked, his voice strained. When my mother, Martha Hayes, heard the commotion, she came out of the house. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, didn't even bother to look at my mother. "That's right," Eleanor said to my father. "I'm returning a wife like this." "So, you must take responsibility," my mother-in-law added as if it were obvious. "I understand." "I understand what you mean," my father replied. He looked at my mother and then they both nodded. "Well, we have no other choice." "Let us take responsibility and close down the company then," my father blurted out. "Yes, we need to take responsibility and close down the company," my mother added firmly. "What? You're going to close down the company?" My mother-in-law was stunned. "Wait, which company are you talking about?" my father-in-law, Richard Vance, asked, a bit annoyed. "You are asking us to take responsibility." "Which other company is there?" my father said bluntly. I couldn't help but sigh when I saw my father in that state. He was very angry. What should I do? I couldn't stop him when he got like that. My father, when serious, would always keep his word, no matter how difficult the task. He would make whatever he said come true, especially when it involved me, because he loved me so much. Why was my father so devoted to me? It had to do with my childhood. From a young age, I was incredibly frail. If anything bad happened to me, I would immediately get a fever and be bedridden. Every few weeks, I would get a fever and be confined to bed for a week after falling ill. That's why I couldn't attend elementary school much and rarely played with friends. My mother, of course, would be by my side if I got sick, and worried about me. My father couldn't get any work done, which was quite common in our family. Perhaps he loved me more than usual because I was so frail. Anyway, both my father and mother loved me dearly from a young age. Being physically frail wasn't entirely bad. My parents provided me with many things to keep me occupied while bedridden. They bought me books, video games, and various other items. My older brother Daniel was extremely jealous of me. I was the only one who received so many things. Among them, I particularly loved my father's laptop. It was my father's old laptop, the one he used for work. Although it was old, it might not have been enough for a normal person to use, but for an elementary school student, it was more than sufficient. I could draw pictures and play games. I could use it to connect to the internet and see what was happening in the world. I spent most of my time in bed, so the computer was a whole new world for me. There was a world here that I didn't know existed. Maybe I can create my own world here, I thought. It was a good memory I had as a child. That's how I became interested in computers. It started with childish drawings, but I gradually moved on to computer graphics, captivated by the 3D world. That's how I became a graphic designer. Even though I'm frail, I can do this, I thought. With this in mind, after graduating high school, I started working as a graphic designer from home. However, I faced countless difficulties at first. I was self-taught and lacked any specialized knowledge. Furthermore, I didn't know how to find work. My body wasn't strong enough to go to work, so I could only manage on my own. Commuting to a workplace was difficult for me. I could work remotely, but I wouldn't be able to work every day like a normal person. In other words, the only way for me to work at my own pace was to take on jobs myself and complete them. It was a tough job, but if successful, I would be able to support myself. I spent many days on the internet researching, piling one difficult task on top of another. I persevered, and more people began to recognize me. These were the same people who approached me again or introduced me to new clients. My work gradually began to take on the characteristics of a real job. During that time, 5 years passed. When my work became popular, I breathed a sigh of relief. My father came to me with an offer. "Would you like to make a commercial advertisement for a construction company?" he asked. It was an unexpected request. My father owned and operated a local construction company. He used to build houses under contract, but now house repairs were his main source of income. There were only 3 employees, my father, my mother, and my brother Daniel. But it was a well-known construction company in the neighborhood. "Are you sure you want me to do this? If it's a job, I'll get paid, right?" I asked, wanting to be clear. "I'm not asking because you're my daughter," my father replied. "I'm asking because I believe you have good advertising sense." I thanked my father for those encouraging words. I was happy to be recognized for having good taste, but most of all, I felt accepted. My designs were then used as insert ads in newspapers. I also created a website for the construction company and posted ads there. Of course, since we were a local company, we weren't nationally famous. But locals would approach me and say, "I saw your ad," and some even said, "It's good." I couldn't stop smiling because those words made me so happy. At the same time, my ads were turned into a poster. These posters were displayed at the company's entrance and on bulletin boards maintained by the local community association. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can live independently, I thought, overjoyed to have such a sense of accomplishment. Meanwhile, my posters were becoming the talk of the town. The construction company owner's daughter is a designer, and she also creates ads for the construction company. Such rumors began to spread in the community. As a result, locals started coming to me for help. Then one day, someone came to me. It was the town electrician. "Is your daughter a designer? Can she create an advertisement for us?" he asked my father. "I'll ask Audrey, my old name, about it," my father said casually. Actually, the town electrician was one of our clients. Although called the town electrician, in reality, it was a larger electrical construction company. For example, they installed air conditioners, fiber optic lines, and wiring. So when we needed electrical work for repairs, we'd ask the town electrician to do it. "So, Audrey, can you do it for me?" my father asked, turning to me. I understood they were an important business partner, so I accepted the offer. Sometime later, I had my father deliver the completed advertisement. The results were even better than I expected, and the town electrician was quite pleased. In addition to the job, he even came to my house to thank me with a gift wrapped in a lovely envelope. "I just wanted to thank you for the wonderful work you did," he said. But it wasn't the electrician I knew. It was a young man who bowed gratefully. "Who are you?" I asked. "Oh, my name is Jeremiah." My father is the electrician. It was Jeremiah Vance, the electrician's son, who had come to see me. He was a college graduate and was currently helping with the electrician's work. "So you'll eventually become an electrician?" I asked. "Eventually, I plan to take over my father's business," Jeremiah replied. "Then we can be long-term friends," I said. "Yes, I'd really like that too, especially with someone as attractive as you," he added with a smile. "What? Me?" I was surprised. I hadn't attended much school and had never had a romantic relationship. Could I be getting hit on? My face suddenly flushed red at the thought. I turned completely red and slumped like a child. In the end, we only exchanged contact information that day, but it wasn't business contact information. It was our personal information. I'd never done anything like this before. I was so nervous I couldn't sleep that night. After that, Jeremiah and I kept in touch. Between jobs, we would tell each other about the day's events and talk about hobbies, favorite things, and other interests. It became a daily routine. Eventually, we started dating. However, we couldn't do anything normal couples do. First of all, I was too frail to travel far when dating. We could only go out together to a nearby park when I felt well. We were never able to have normal dates like watching movies or going to fancy restaurants. Another important reason was that our days off didn't match. Since I took on my own jobs, I could take time off freely, but Jeremiah couldn't. Even on his days off, he often received urgent requests to repair home appliances. Furthermore, as summer and winter approached, it was not uncommon for him to be installing air conditioners every day. Even so, I couldn't do anything typical of a normal lover, but that didn't bother me. We could always keep in touch by phone, exchanging words and sending messages. I was always in bed with a fever, so it was nothing to me. We nurtured our love this way and got married a few years later. I moved into Jeremiah's house. Naturally, Jeremiah's parents already knew me. So, my mother-in-law told me, "You just take care of the housework, as long as you don't overdo it." "I understand," I said. My father-in-law was also very kind to me. "When you have time, can you make some traditional dishes for me?" he asked me. "I'll take care of it," I replied. "Then I'll leave it to you." "Thank you," he said. I thought I had gotten along with my in-laws because of this, but that was only at first. Gradually, my mother-in-law began to ask me to take care of various other things. "I'll be away for a while. Can you watch the store for me?" she asked. "Sure, but I'm also working," I said. "You can just stand at the counter." "You can work there too, right?" she suggested. "If you don't mind me bringing my laptop, I can handle it," I replied. "I don't mind at all," my mother-in-law agreed. Just like that, my mother-in-law started asking me to watch the store more and more often. My father-in-law also started asking for my help. "Can you make a website for the store?" he asked. "What? I'm not an expert," I replied. "Just keep it simple, daughter." "Please," he added. Creating a website wasn't my specialty, but my father-in-law pressed me to create a website for their electrical company. After that, my in-laws would ask me to work for them whenever they had the chance. One thing led to another. They would ask me to do one thing after another. Finally, my mother-in-law said to me, "Excuse me, but can you clean up for me?" she said. "What? I have work to do too." I bristled. "What are you talking about? You're a wife. Can't you at least do that?" she insisted. Yes, I replied. Eventually, I was forced to do the cleaning. Once I accepted the job, there was no turning back. After cleaning, it was cooking, then laundry, and gradually the amount of housework increased. I was also forced to watch the store. I couldn't do my own work. I had no choice but to cut back on all my graphic design work. Naturally, my income decreased, but I was married and Jeremiah was taking care of my living expenses, so I wasn't too worried. But that wasn't the problem. "I think I have a fever today," I said. I was so exhausted that I finally got a fever. I told my mother-in-law, "Excuse me, but I'll have to rest for a while." When I told her, she wasn't happy. "I can't believe you're getting a fever over such a trivial matter," she said. But then she added, "Oh, yes, I understand. Go back to bed." She said this casually and quickly left the room. Huh? I might have offended her, I thought, regretting it. But it was true that my body wasn't listening to me, so there was nothing I could do. I lay down on the bed. After a while, Jeremiah came in and asked, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm sorry," I replied. "Don't be too hard on yourself," he continued. "I know, but your parents," I replied. I told Jeremiah that I had no choice because my in-laws forced me to do household chores. Then Jeremiah looked at me suspiciously. "Why don't you say no?" he said. "But I began. "What are you talking about? You're an adult." "You should at least express your opinion," he interrupted me. Jeremiah didn't understand anything. If this was a decent job, I would definitely say no. But the other party was my in-laws. If I refused my mother-in-law, it could cause trouble later. The same with my father-in-law. If I complained and my father-in-law hated me, he could say, "Get a divorce." I knew I was probably overthinking it, but I couldn't help but think about it. This is why I couldn't help but obey my in-laws. Also, I was sad that Jeremiah didn't understand me. I couldn't believe he didn't understand me either. I was completely alone in my in-laws' house. Thinking about it, I started to cry. However, this was quite common. I can't lose, I told myself. Later, when the fever subsided, my mother-in-law again asked me to run errands for her. I reduced my own workload and complied with her requests as much as possible. Just like that, I tried to please my in-laws. One day, after all this had happened, my mother-in-law suddenly asked me, "Chloe, how's your work going?" "Well, I'm still continuing slowly," I replied. "How much money are you making now?" she continued. "Huh? That's none of your business, is it?" I replied sharply. "Yes, it is. Prices are going up these days, and if you can give me some money for living expenses," she said, grinning. As far as I could tell, the electrician's business was not declining at all. On the contrary, as prices rose, more and more people sought energy-saving home appliances. Thanks to that, jobs like air conditioner installation even increased. We were sometimes asked for assistance by large electronics retailers, and if anything, their income should have increased. That's what I thought. However, my mother-in-law implied that she didn't have enough money to make ends meet. Feeling a little strange, I told her a smaller amount. "My income is also tight. I also have housework, so currently my monthly income is about $500. "What? 500? She was surprised. "Yes, $500 a month isn't bad if you think of it as a part-time job," I repeated. My mother-in-law suddenly turned red. "Only $500 and you don't even do much housework," she blurted out indignantly. I thought I did quite a lot of housework. Her accusation was baseless. I do all the cooking and cleaning these days. I even watch the store and do laundry when my mother-in-law is away. While I was thinking about this, my mother-in-law told me, "Wait. I'm going to go talk to your father," and ran to my father-in-law. A few minutes later, my mother-in-law came back with my father-in-law and told me, "Come with me." I asked, "Where?" "To your parents' house," she replied. "My house?" I blurted out. "I'm returning you," my mother-in-law said. After that, I was forced to go to my parents' house where I was declared in front of my father that I would be returned. In response, my father just said, "I'll close down my own company." While I was worried about what to do, my mother-in-law smiled and said, "You want to close down your company? You mean your construction company? Are you talking about that?" She tried to clarify. "Yes, there's no other company for me," my father replied with a forced smile. My father-in-law sighed and added, "You're going to destroy the construction company and eliminate our electrician business, aren't you? If so, then what?" My father replied, "I'm sorry, but we have other customers besides you. Furthermore, there's a lot of electrician work out there," he added. "So I have the right to take responsibility for my daughter and close down my own construction company, don't I?" My father asked, looking straight at my father-in-law. "Go ahead," my father-in-law retorted. "It's useless to try and drag me down with you." Finally, he yelled these last words and left. My mother-in-law turned to me and sneered, "Useless wife! You don't have to come back." I stood dumbfounded. "Are you okay, Chloe?" my father asked, worried. What should I do, Dad?" I asked, feeling lost. He said so many hurtful things. "Wouldn't it be better if you got a divorce?" my father blurted out. "Yes, I think so," I replied reluctantly. However, Jeremiah might come looking for me, I thought, clinging to hope. The most important thing was that Jeremiah loved me, even if my in-laws didn't. But Jeremiah didn't come looking for me. No matter how long I waited. After a few days, I finally received a text from Jeremiah with just 3 words. "Let's get divorced." I couldn't believe it. I kept texting Jeremiah, but he never replied. Then Jeremiah's lawyer called me. "Jeremiah's parents persuaded him to divorce you," the lawyer announced. I couldn't say anything. I agreed to the divorce, accepting the alimony and other conditions Jeremiah offered. So my marriage, which lasted less than a year, ended. At the same time, my father's construction company also closed down. However, it didn't cease operations completely. In fact, my brother Daniel took over my father's construction company. The location and company name remained the same, but he cut all ties with Jeremiah's family's company. Naturally, this dealt a heavy blow to Jeremiah's family's business. Still, they had other customers and managed somehow. But they weren't safe, especially since my return became a big rumor around town. Gradually, Jeremiah's family began to be alienated, and more requests were sent to the electrician company that my brother had partnered with. This continued, and eventually rumors spread that Jeremiah's business was collapsing. "This will teach him a lesson," my father said one day, looking satisfied. My mother and I thought so too. But then, the wind suddenly changed. It was the following summer. I was at my brother's construction company office when we received a phone call. "Excuse me, the air conditioner seems to be broken," said someone whose house my brother had repaired. When my brother went to check, he found that the outdoor unit of the air conditioner was damaged. "This is terrible, even for a joke," my brother muttered. He consulted with the family and immediately called the police. My brother then contacted his electrician partner and had the air conditioner replaced. But this wasn't the only case. The same thing happened again and again. My brother's construction company couldn't handle the situation on its own. The story goes that the affected people reluctantly sought help from Jeremiah's family. "We're getting more and more similar requests, and the fee will be charged at a premium rate," my ex-father-in-law declared, grinning. "Is that okay with you?" he asked one of the affected customers. "The number of people who need help is increasing," he added, justifying the premium fee. It was unacceptable to charge higher repair fees just because demand increased. I was very angry, but it had nothing to do with me. I could do nothing but give up. But my brother was different. "I'll find the culprit," he declared, and asked for the cooperation of some of his customers. I wondered what he would do, but what he did was very simple. He lent them a free video doorbell. "Why a video doorbell?" I asked, confused. "Video doorbells these days have recording functions." Some have sensors, so they can be used as security cameras instead, he explained. I don't think it'll be that easy, I said skeptically. But within 3 days, the culprit was caught. Moreover, it was Jeremiah's parents who were caught. They had broken into houses in the middle of the night and destroyed air conditioners, creating work for themselves because they had lost customers. When interrogated by the police, they confessed to such selfish motives. I was reminded again of the term mutual collapse. If my father stopped the construction business, Jeremiah's business would be in danger. Perhaps my ex-father-in-law knew this and intentionally used that term. Anyway, my in-law's arrest triggered the collapse of Jeremiah's family's electrical store. Apparently, Jeremiah has now started working at a demolition site to pay for damages. One of the electricians working at my brother's construction company told me he saw Jeremiah there. But I didn't care. I sympathized with him, but I didn't want to be involved anymore. Also, I'm happy now. I work as a graphic designer and also watch the store at my brother's construction company. I can work at my own pace, and the best part is that I don't have nagging in-laws. However, there's one problem. My father has retired. He keeps asking, "Are you tired? Are you okay?" He's always hovering around talking to me. "If you're so bored, why don't you go back to work?" I teased. I think having a working dad would be cooler. As soon as I said that, my father started working again at my brother's construction company. It seems my father loves me very much. But I love my father very much too. A month later, I filed for divorce. Jeremiah begged. He cried. He offered every excuse in the book, but it was too late. I moved out, got my own place, and for the first time in years, I felt free. Brittany tried to reach out. Eleanor sent me a letter, but I threw it away. Marcus, he just shrugged and said, "Can't blame you." As for Jeremiah, he had to host Christmas that year, and from what I heard, it was a disaster. I spent a decade trying to be good enough for people who would never deserve me. Finally, I learned the most important lesson. Never set yourself on fire to keep others warm. I walked away from that family, that marriage, that whole toxic mess. And I've never regretted it. Have you ever had to cut out toxic family to protect what you love? Do you see yourself in this story? Leave a comment if you've ever said enough. And if you're still gathering the courage, borrow some of mine, because blood doesn't entitle anyone to break you. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for the Unscripted Drama channel for more powerful stories of independence, inner strength, and unexpected justice.